Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinars. We are pleased to have you with us in this session titled Intelligent Stakeholders Communication, where we explore how AI and digital technologies are transforming stakeholder engagement, collaboration, and communication within modern project environment. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Abdul Muqsid Abbasi. Mr. Abdul Muqsid is AI entrepreneur and thought leader with extensive experience in AI, machine learning, and analytics. He is a co-founder of Byte Corp, an AI company delivering intelligent solution to business globally. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Abdul Muqsid Abbasi, and please write your question through this session. We will answer it at the end of the session. Over to you, Mr. Abdul Muqsid.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Am I audible to everyone? Uh, yes, I think that's fine. So first of all, I'll just give a quick introduction from my side, and then we will move in to today's topic. Before I start, I'll try to keep it as short as possible because I don't want it to get very boring. I just want to discuss an actual problem that we face today while we're working on different sort of projects, either in the technology sector or outside of it, because I believe that this is a problem across all sectors. So, as my dear friend gave an introduction about me, my name is Abdul Mohsen Abbasi, and I am the CEO and co-founder of a company that is called Byte Corp Technologies. And we established Byte Corp back in 2019, long before any of these people were talking about artificial intelligence. So we have been working in the space since that time. So I've seen a lots of ups and downs. I've seen a lot of waves. I've seen lots of bubbles burst. So back in 2018, there was a hype about AI. Then blockchain took it over. Everybody forgot about AI. And then for the last, I think it's been 1.5 years now since ChatGPT came out, and people have been talking about this technology. So it's good to be at the center of this bubble right now, when everybody's talking about it, when everybody's utilizing it into day-to-day operations. So, yep. And now I'll just quickly move on to today's topic. So, what we're going to discuss today. Uh, the sector that we're targeting is intelligent stakeholder communication. And what that means is that today, whenever we're executing projects, we have specifically large scale projects. When we, let's say, a couple of hundred millions of dollars, or even small projects that are, let's say, $2 or $3 million. So in that, one of the biggest challenges that we face is different stakeholders who are not in regular liaison. Some of them just joins a meeting once every quarter. Then there are the ones who are there every month. Then there are a couple of them who are there every week. And then there's a team that is communicating every day, maybe 6 or 7 hours a day. And a challenge that, and this is something that I face myself as well in my executive position, is that there's a very thick cloud of smoke in between what is the actual status of a project or and what the highest level or the executive leader knows about. And so that is where I want to start off. That today I want to discuss how artificial intelligence can turn the chaos of project communication into something that an executive can actually rely on. So when we talk about it today, what happens is that in any project, and obviously, and this is coming directly from McKinsey, that around 28% of the knowledge, which approximately equates to one fourth, that is gone to email. Then another 20% is spent searching for information that already exists. And just these two factors combined, out of all the others, result in stakeholders blaming that around 56% of failed projects, that is due to poor communication. And what happens, and further, what I would call that impact of that is that one in every five executive decision is made on stale or incomplete knowledge. You may have worked with a lot of organizations, either as an entrepreneur or as working with them on different projects, that you provide a certain piece of information. The decision comes 3 weeks later. Now, do you think that that executive actually had the information for all the 3 weeks? No, that's usually not the case. So by the time the executive is about to make a decision, the information that he received 3 weeks back, that's already stale. And so why does this basically happen? What we see over here, that for any project that we are executing today, there are more or less at least 5 silos of information, and there is no single source of truth, because the source of truth can only be made if all of these silos are connected. So if I'll just name them quickly, so we have the issue trackers. You may be using Jira, Asana, Monday.com, Trello, any of those tools. Then there's a separate communication channel, communication line that's taking place on the emails. The third one, hours and hours of calls and meetings that you attend each day. Specifically after COVID, a lot of these meetings have shifted online, which means that the frequency has gone up, the attention span has gone down, and which results in a lot of information floating about in the air. The fourth thing, which is the informal mode of communications, that is chat and the direct messages that we have. It can be Slack, it can be Microsoft Teams, or it can just be a WhatsApp message that you have with your with the person that you're working. The fifth one, the documents and reports. So the PDFs and slide decks that I shared, one of them as I'm sharing to you right now. So all of this is what actually constitutes of the information on the basis of which a single source of truth needs to be generated, but nobody knows about that. And just for 10 seconds, I'm quickly going to pose a question to you. And if you guys have the answer, just drop it in the chat. What was actually agreed upon in a meeting last Thursday? So approximately, not the 1 2 days back, but let's say if I go 6 or 7 days back, or even if you just go 2 days back, I want to know what was actually agreed over there. And if you guys just drop a yes or no if you exactly remember in the chat, and that would be sufficient for me. Okay. And what my understanding is, and I may be very much wrong, uh, but I feel that nobody of you would be sure. And even your AI agent, the ones that you use today, they cannot tell you about it. Why? Because they've never seen that actual source of information. And a lot of you may think that this is just a communication problem. In actuality, this is not just a communication problem. Rather, it's a P&L problem. It's a profit and loss problem. Had it been a communication problem, all of the blame that would have come on the project managers. But because this is a P&L problem, this problem is for the CEO, this problem is for the CFO, this problem is for the project managers, and this problem is for the whole company. Why is that? Number one, decision latency. Because the executive decisions, as I just mentioned, they have to wait days while somebody assembles the picture from emails, Slack, dashboards, and all other pieces of information. The second thing, duplicated work. Two teams are solving the same problem twice because the first solution was buried and no one actually thought or was able to get to it. The third thing, stakeholder drift. The sponsors, they stop asking for questions and suddenly start operating on assumptions, because of which, as you go down the line, the level of trust goes down. And number four, governance blind spots. Audit and compliance reviews that depend on artifacts that were never written down in the first place. So what happens is that just to cover and just to pass that specific audit, you quickly just build up those documents on the basis of what you remember, on whatever information that you can gather, which often is not the clear picture of what's actually happening. And so, what's the vision? What are we trying to achieve today? We are trying to go from that overload to a strategic clarity. And what happens today? It's communication overload. Again, statuses that are assembled manually, decisions lost across 4 to 6 different tools, sponsors brief on yesterday's reality, PMO spending more time on chasing than steering, and AI assistants who are actually hallucinating on unstructured input. What we expect to achieve after this? The strategic clarity. We can have a single bird's eye view across all initiatives. every decision, blocker, and commitment that's already indexed. Sponsors are briefed on real-time state of any project. PMOs steer using evidence, not just intuition, and AI answers that are actually grounded in artifacts that exist. So, what are we talking about from a technical aspect? We're talking about four layers, all of which eventually point to a single direction. Raw conversation goes in, and governed insights come out. At layer one, we expect we what we would expect is to have connectors. At layer two, we would expect to have NLP. Layer three, the context engine, and layer four, the agents that you all are used to using today. So what we pull out of every message: structured, queryable facts, an executive for that an executive or any other system can act upon. This can be used by entities, by decision makers, what risk and blockers are there, what possible commitments were there, what sort of sentiment existed, and what sort of timelines are we looking at. Every extracted fact points back to the source from the way that conclusion is coming out. So nothing is asserted without evidence. And so there are basically two kinds of questions that we're looking to target over here. The first one is deterministic and operational. The answer to these questions should always be the same, no matter how the specific question is asked. And this should be grounded in a citation that basically means where are we actually getting this information from. And determinism is very important in this case because if that is not there, again, the trust erodes very quickly. So let's say, what did the sponsor approve on the 14th of April? Who owns the SSO blocker? Is the data migration on critical path? All of these answers, they should always be deterministic. And then there's the second type of questions, which are much more open-ended. However, they're only based on the data and the evidence that the system has already seen. How healthy is the overall project? What's quietly slipping that we haven't been able to see? Where is the confidence of the sponsor going down? And more questions like this. This helps you plan preemptively for whatever problems that you may face once you're going and heading down the project. Brings me to what the executive is actually asking. So let's say, for example, the executive asks, brief me on Project Apollo before my 9 a.m. The assistant would automatically provide a 3 paragraph summary along with all of the risk, recent decision, and what's changed since the last week. The second question that he may ask is, which work streams have gone quiet in the last 10 days? The assistant, again, based on the data that it already has, for example, in this case, too, data migration, because there's no Jira activity being seen. Now you see that there are two things that automatically get solved over here. Either the Jira board was not getting updated regularly, in which case they can immediately reach out to the PMO team and ask why is this specific activity not being updated. The second thing, that there actually has been no progress, in which case the executives can reach out to the project managers in order to ask them what possible blockers they're facing. So similar questions like this and a lot of work can be sped up. And what sort of timeline are we looking at? So nowadays, for this is a case study that I'm going to talk about for a digital transformation program. So 12-month digital transformation program, 8 concurrent streams, and 14 project managers across 3 geographies, 600 artifacts being generated every week, and there's one steering committee meeting every 14 days. And what can change in these 12 months? So today, without the sort of system that we're envisioning, 6 hours per week, manually assembled by the project manager officer. 40% decisions are traceable to sources as of today, with the way that things happen today. The average decision latency is 4 to 6 days, and the status question is steering is what the most of the agenda is about. However, afterwards, what we can expect is that all of the briefing, it can just be drafted in 20 minutes. 98% of the data traces back to citations. The decision latency goes down by 70% of the items. And we just spent 15 minutes of the steering committee meeting where we talk about what's the status of the projects. And so what changes for the executive layer in this case? The visibility, faster alignment, stronger governance, confident decision making, and a lot less miscommunication along with empowering of the PMOs. And how long should this take when we're actually implementing it with any possible customer or any possible organization? A maximum of 90 days is what it should take. In 30 days, we just connect two sources of data. In the next 30 days, we do a small pilot. And in the last 30 days, we're quickly scaling it across all the different communication tools present. And what are we not doing? We're not exposing the data to any external LLMs so that the data remains in tenant. We have an audit trail available, which means you can always tell where a specific answer is coming from. The system should not hallucinate. A lot of you may have used Notebook LLM. So one of the best things about that is it does not hallucinate. It only uses information that is already present within its knowledge base. And then the last thing, human in the loop, where all of the escalations and external communications, they're just drafted. They're not sent until the human signs off. If we cannot say where an answer came from, we won't give that answer. And as I said, that takes us from overload to clarity. And I'm sorry if it, because obviously as a webinar, I was not able to look at this screen at that point. I'll just see whatever questions that we have as of now. So we don't have any questions in the chat, but if it's possible, maybe we can open the floor to our participants and we can answer any possible questions that they may have.
Please, if you have any question, write into the chat or raise your hand to share your question. Okay, Mr. Abdul Maqsud, I believe we reached to our end of the session. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Maqsud, for this insightful session and for sharing such valuable perspective on intelligent stakeholders communication and the role of AI enhancing collaboration and decision making. We will give a chance for the questions. Otherwise, we will end this session. Please, if you have any question, write it or raise your hand to share your questions. Do not hesitate. Feel free to ask anything related to this subject.
So one
Yes.
question Mustafa has is so obviously tools that we're looking at when we're looking at an enterprise scale, if you have free tools, they're generally not very secure. So no, these tools they cannot be free. It depends on the organization size, scale, and what sort of I would call data sources that they have, according to which the cost of the tool is determined at that specific point in time.
Okay, Mr. Abdul Maqsad, on behalf of Project Management Association, PMA, we would like to extend our sincere thanks to you for this valuable session. Thank you, everybody, for your participation and engagement. We appreciate your time and we hope this session provided practical insight that you can apply in your project and organization. Have a great evening and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.